Arjun that of the trees I am the Ashwatha, and of divine seers I am Narad. Of the Gandharvas I am Chitraratha, and of the perfected ones I am Kapil, the sage. The majority of people make a mistake when chanting Ashwatha. They chant it as Aswashta. It should be pronounced as Ashwatha and not Ashwashta. In this verse, God once again shows four of his vibhutis, divine manifestations. Shri Krishna says that of all trees, he is Ashwatha. If you look at it in reality, then trees themselves are forms of God. You can learn about charity from trees. Paropapkarya phalamte rukshaha. The most important part of trees and the consequences of all the work and efforts of trees is the fruit. The amazing thing is that trees never eat the fruits themselves. If you look at the plant world, the animal world, and all other worlds apart from the worlds of humans, then you see that the same thing. Bees keep gathering and gathering honey and create a whole beehive, but bees themselves do not eat honey. Rivers carry and flow so much water, but they do not drink water themselves. You get many examples like this. They all exist for others. The whole world is giving us a message of charity. Out of all the trees, Shri Krishna says that Ashwatha is his vibhuti, his divine manifestation. The Ashwatha is a people tree. If one studies the Gita, then you'll feel that Shri Krishna has a lot of traction towards people trees, and that God likes people trees very much. You see going forward in the 15th chapter, where in Purushottam Yoga, the yoga of the Supreme Person, God will describe the tree of the material world and will say that Urvan Mulam Adyakshatnam Ashwattam Prahu Avyayam. They speak of imperishable Ashwattham, the people tree, as having its root above and its branches below. The tree of the material world is just like the people tree, and here the Lord says that Ashwatha, the people tree, is his vibhuti, his divine manifestation. When we see it in this meaning, the Lord is saying that the whole material world is his vibhuti, his divine manifestation. The Lord is in the material world. This is because he said that the people tree is his vibhuti in divine manifestation, and in the 15th chapter of the Gita, he says that the people tree is the symbol for the material world. The meaning of this is that the material world is God's vibhuti, divine manifestation. We should understand the meaning of the word Ashwatha. Ashwatha means people tree, but if you break the word down, then there are three parts. A is the first part, Shwa is the second part, and Tha is the third part. In Sanskrit, Shwa means tomorrow. Shwadam Ishami means I will go tomorrow. Shwa Adam Ishami means I will come tomorrow. Pancha Vadan Samai Shwa Varam Ishami means I will come tomorrow at 5 p.m. Shwa means tomorrow. Tha means one who remains steady. Shwatha means that which will remain tomorrow. The letter A has been put in front of it, and A is a negative prefix. Therefore, Ashwatha means that whose tomorrow is not certain. This is the people tree. It is a symbol of the material world because the material world is such that its tomorrow is not certain. Na jani janki nate savare su tavanuche. Savad mi vachorido adu shane su tavanuche. I do not even know what is going to happen the next morning. Leave the next morning, I do not even know what's going to happen during the next moment. It is not certain what is going to happen tomorrow. This is the meaning of Ashwatha. The Lord, who himself is eternal, is still placing his vibhuti divine manifestation, and that perishable thing whose tomorrow, or also whose next moment, is not certain. This is the greatness of the Lord. The Lord is eternal, and is still enabling us to see him in that which is perishable. The reason why Shri Krishna says that his vibhuti, divine manifestation, is the people tree, is because first of all, from the perspective of the Puranas, the greatness of the people tree has been described a lot in the Puranas. In the Skand Purana, there are the following verses. Mure Vishnu Sito Nityam Sande Keshava Echa Ramanastu Akasu Patreshu Bhagavan Hari Ale Achitananda Deha Savadeva Samanvida Sa Eva Vishnu Duma Eva Murto Matma Visepiti Punyam Mulaha Yasyasha Papa Tasrahamta Bhavat Nutu Kama Rugo Guna Jaya. Lord Vishnu is in the root of the people tree. Lord Keshav's form is in the trunk. Lord Narayan is in the branches that are vast and prevalent. Lord Hari himself resides in the leaf of the people tree. Lord Achyuta abides in the fruits of the people tree. All the gods reside in the people tree. This people tree is Lord Vishnu's idol personified. It is the origin of punyas, which means the opposite of sins, which creates itself. Its shelter and worships destroys thousands of sins. Worship of the people tree is pure, and the people tree fulfills all wishes. Lord Vishnu is in the root of the people tree, and therefore if one pours water to a people tree, then this means that the water is being given to Lord Vishnu. Hari is named for God, meaning, who knows the meaning of the word Hari, the name Hari? It means Harati iti Hari, one who defeats. People say that the people tree is of Pitru ancestors and that the Pitru ancestors reside there. Maybe for this it is, but this is incorrect. They should be worshipping the people tree as God himself. The word Pitru ancestors has become so ingrained in society so much, when people hear the word Pitru ancestors, then they get scared about what will happen. Worship of the people tree is very pure. Even in medical scriptures, the importance of the people tree is described. The leaves, fruits, skin, and everything else of a people tree has a healing quality and destroys diseases. The scriptures show which diseases can be treated by the people tree's leaves, fruits, skin, and other parts. The people tree and its parts can cure the following as well as many other diseases: blood disorders, kapha, vata, pitta, acidity, vomiting, unpalatability. Many times it happens that one has no interest towards food. Consumption of poison. If anyone has taken any type of poison, then the people tree is very effective and makes the poison go away. Cough, irregular fever, hiccups, illnesses of the nose, intestinal parasites, tapeworms. If these are there in the stomach, then the people tree treats this. Leprosy, the people tree is very helpful for this. And skin disorders. For example, if there's a wound that cannot be healed, then the people tree is very useful, as the scientific scriptures show. First, I explained it by way of the Puranas, and second, I explained it by way of science. Third, I'll explain it by way of spirituality. When the whole treatment of psychiatry was created in science, then they tried to search for a medicine that would make a person's mind and intellect powerful. This is because all medicine that falls within the category of allopathic medicine are at the root Ayurvedic medicines, and they cannot be created in factories. There may be chemicals, but these chemicals would have to have been extracted from somewhere. These people have started getting patents of lemon trees. They extract something from this and put it in medicines, so we cannot see the lemon tree. But basically it is always from a plant or tree. They take the herbal qualities of the plant or the tree and create it in another form. The psychologists were searching for something that would give power to the mind and the intellect, and search for the tree from which they'll get that chemical form. They could either get it from minerals or from trees. They zeroed it on the people tree and the banyan tree. If you look at botanically, the people tree and the banyan tree are trees from the same family. They found the people tree and the banyan tree have the chemical that could give power to the mind and the intellect. Think of it very nicely that Lord Buddha attained wisdom when he was sitting underneath the banyan tree. This banyan tree became known as Bodhi tree. This has an effect. The people tree has a quality that this tree releases oxygen even at night time. Trees such as the people tree, the lemon tree, and other trees are like this. You cannot sleep underneath any other tree at night time. This is because during the day, the majority of trees take carbon dioxide and release oxygen during the day, but at night time they release carbon dioxide. But the people tree and some other trees are such that they're taking carbon dioxide and they release oxygen at night time as well. That is why Shri Krishna says that of all trees, the Ashwatha, the people tree, is his Vibhuti, divine manifestation. If one wishes to perform dhyan, meditation, then it is much more natural for them underneath a people tree or a banyan tree. These are proven things. Therefore, even from a spiritual perspective, the people tree is very necessary. Shri Krishna then says of Devarshi, divine seers, Narad is his Vibhuti, divine manifestation. Who can you call a Devarshi? The Vayu Purana explains who you call a Devarshi. Only a person who has attained certain qualities can be called a Devarshi. Devalo Ratistashta, Neha Devasha Yachura, Devashya Turan Itya, Tesham Vyatyami Lakshanam, Ruta Bhava Bhavat Sati Vartam Tatha, Sambhutastu Svayam Yatu, Sambhayati Cheva Svayam, Tapasha Prasidaya, Gardara Yata Prayoditam, Mantra Pyara Hari Yonesha, Eshvarya Sargashevay, Nityai Rishi Gupta, Devad Vijan Rupasuya. This is the definition of a Devarshi, a divine seer. Those who are honored and have an abode in the world of the gods. Such divine seers should be regarded as pure. The qualities they have include: they have knowledge of the past, the present, and the future. They are speakers of the truth with a capital T and clearly say what it is. They are completely wise and enlightened. Despite being completely enlightened, they themselves come into bondage in the material world. They have fame and glory because of the penances. They can preach even to those residing in womb. They are speakers of mantras and can give mantras. Their opulence and spiritual powers are such that they can go to any world that they wish to go to, and they can move around with everybody everywhere. Wherever they are with rishis and sages. Those who have all of these qualities are Devarshi, divine seers. Devarshi divine seers are completely wise and enlightened. It is not borrowed wisdom, but wisdom that manifests from within themselves. Despite being completely enlightened, Devarshi divine seers themselves come to bondage in the material world. They know why they come to the material world and what they have to do. If we look at ordinarily, then you can only preach to the person sitting in front of you and who you can see. It is a quality of Devarshi, divine seers, that they can also preach to those residing in a womb. For example, Naradi preached to Prahlad while he was in his mother's Kyadu's womb. You know about this event. When Hiranyakashipu went to perform penances, Indra captured Kyadu, who was Hiranyakashipu's wife and Prahlad's mother. Indra was taking Kyadu and met Naradi halfway. Naradi asked Indra, Devraj, king of the gods, what are you doing? Indra said, this is the wife of an Asura, a demon, and she's pregnant, so I'm taking her. Whenever a son gets born, then I'll kill him, so this lineage of the Asuras, demons, will be finished. Naradi said that, Devraj, you should not do this. Hiranyakashipu has gone to perform penances. You are a god, and being a god, if you run away with the demon's wife, then how will your godness remain? Indra says, I have to kill a child. Naradi said, leave this job to me. Naradi took Kyadu from Indra to his hermitage. Kyadu was pregnant. Naradi preached the scriptures to her. This story is clearly written in the Srimad Bhagavad. Prahlad himself said, I resided in my mother's womb and listened to these scriptures. This is the quality of a Devarshi, divine seer. They can preach even to an individual residing in the mother's womb. The opulence and spiritual powers of Devarshi, divine seers are such that they can go to any world they wish to go to, and they can move around with everybody everywhere. Each and every person feels that certain people are their own. If you go to the most ordinary of all ordinary people, then you will see that they feel as if certain people are their own. And if you go to the greatest of all great people, they also see that they feel as if certain people are their own. Even the most knowledgeable of all knowledgeable people will say that certain people are their own. Each and every person feels as if certain people are their own. That is why they close themselves up by saying that they will only meet these people and not others. Devarshi divine seers are not like that. They are Sarvadasha and travel with everyone everywhere. You see that Naradi can be found everywhere. He can be in Devalok, the world of the gods, Samsara, material world, or anywhere else. Whenever something is happening, the Naradi will reach there. This is the quality of a Devarshi, divine seer. Whenever you see Devarshi, divine seers, then they're always with rishis and sages. They're always with thinkers. The meaning of the word rishi is one who is a reformist. A rishi is not just someone who is traditional. A rishi is a revolutionary. Devarshi divine seers are always with such rishis as sages. An exchange of views is forever happening. This is the quality of Devarshi divine seers. One who has all these qualities is a Devarshi, a divine seer. Shri Krishna says that of these Devarshi divine seers, he is Naradi. If you look at our scriptures, then you feel that there are many Devarshi divine seers, and there are also many Narads, but there is only one Devarshi divine seer Narad. We have to take it as a combined term. Devarishi, divine seer, Devarshi, Narad. This is because Naradji is not a person, but an institution, just like Vyasji. Vyasji is not a person, but an institution. Vyasji wrote many scriptures such as Mahabharata, divided Vedas, and many good things. Does Vyasji begin to become Maharishi, great sage from then? And in the more recent scriptures of some Puranas that were written 500 to 700 years ago, it says, Vyas Uvada, Vyasji said. The time of the Vedas was so ancient and thousands of years ago, whereas these were written 500 to 700 years ago. Did Vyasji live for this long? Maybe he may have lived that long, and I have no doubt about this, but because Vyasji was long-lived, but looking at rationally, Vyasji is an institution and not a person. He was more like an institution and started a tradition. For example, Shankaracharya was born around 1200 years ago. He left his body at the age of 32, but he founded 4 holy centers, and whoever comes to pillars is regarded as Shankaracharya. Then their own name, they may have ghosts, and they are only Shankaracharya. Now let us say that after 2000 to 5000 years, a person asks that this is remarkable. Shankaracharya exists in this age, Shankaracharya exists in another age, and exists even in this age. Why are there so many Shankaracharyas? This is because it is a lineage. Similarly, there are such lineages of Vyas and Narad. They created whole traditions. Not only that, but they have authenticity. It is very easy to create a tradition, but to give it authenticity is special. For example, those who have a particularly academic interest in reading English books will know about Oxford publications. Once it says it's an Oxford publication, then you do not need to see who the author is, because it's from Oxford, then it has to be good, and you should think that you should get it. If you're researching about the subject, then you may ask if there is a work about it to do with Oxford. Oxford is a press and a shop. If I were to say in simple language, then it's a publication group. Yet it has created a credibility that it is from Oxford, then it will be regarded as having the quality of Oxford. The author then becomes secondary. In the same way, Vyashi and Narad have traditions, but authentic traditions. The meaning of the name Narad is one who gives wisdom. Naram, dadati iti narada. I often say that when you hear the word Narad, then this is a wrong image and belief that has been created from reading comic books and watching television programs and films, that is someone who wears yellow clothes, wears simple clothes, has his hair in a knot, wearing very simple necklaces, who keeps saying Narayan, Narayan, has a lute in his hands, and keeps creating arguments between two people. If a person has this latter habit, then people say that he is behaving like Narad. This is in fact an insult to Naraji. The meaning of the word Narad is one who gives wisdom. Naram Gnanam Dadati Iti Narada. This is a definition given in the Shabda Kalpadrum Granth, which is an encyclopedic dictionary of Sanskrit words. It is the bliss of the Sanskrit language that one word can have mutually opposite meanings. Nar is such a word. The word Nar can have many meanings. One meaning of Nar is water. That is why, when we say the name Narayan for the Supreme Soul, the Narayan can be split into Nar, water, and Ayan, home. Nar and Ayan, water, home. Therefore, one whose home is in the water is Narayan, who is Vishnu resting on the serpent Sheshashaya. The word Nar means water, knowledge, ignorance, and has many other meanings. If we take the meaning of Nar to be ignorance, then we can still have a great definition of Narad as one who destroys ignorance, one who cuts ignorance. Naram Agnanam Vyati Kanayati Iti Narada. When we combine the two or put them together, then we have the meaning of Narad as one who cuts ignorance and who gives wisdom. Naram Agnanam Vyati Kanayati Chanarada Gnanam Dati Iti Narada. There is a third definition of the word Narad that I more recently found out. Nara means a human being. I'm not saying it from the perspective of women and men, but Nara means a human. Nara means humanness. Therefore, Narad means one who gives humanness and one who makes a human being a human being. Naram Dati. This is the definition of the word Narad. We have been born as human beings, but are we living as human beings? Naraji asks such questions. Just because you have 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 arms, and 2 feet, that alone does not make you a human being. If you say that you're a human being because you have 2 feet, then even a crow can stand on 2 feet. Naraji makes a human being a human being. Naham Pashu, Naham Pakshi, Aham Manushya. We're not animals and we're not birds, we're human beings, and that's why we're different from everyone else. Who is a human being? Our scriptures give the following definition. Manasa karmani sivyati iti manushya. A person that sows action with his mind, or someone that thinks before acting, is a human being. When people sew sweaters or do designs in rings on clothes, then they do it with such concentration. If they sew a knot in one place, so if one place in the sweater is sewed wrongly, then they find out after 2 or 3 lines that they're sewed one knot in the wrong place, and so they gently pull out the work in the last 2 or 3 lines. People ask, what difference does it make if one knot is in the wrong place? Because it is not going to stop the cold air coming in. Only that much air is going to come in. The person doing sewing says, no, it will look bad because the knot has been sewed in the wrong place. If someone sees this, then they will criticize the person who created it and will say that the person who created it does not know how to sew a sweater. The person who sews it gets upset when this happens. 2 hours may get lost, but they pull off an entire line. The same way, in the sewing of the cloth of life, a person who sews each and every step and action beautifully with their mind is a human being. A person who gives full thought to everything is a human being. If a person sews a wrong knot on a sweater, then they can pull it out, but if one sews a wrong knot in life, then it is not possible to pull it out. There is no possibility of pulling it out a line in life. When we see the knots in our lives that are all muddled up, then we will understand. Sit alone in silence and see which knots you have tied. There are mistakes in the sewing knots throughout the 40 or 50 years of one's life. No designs are showing. No patterns are showing. One who shows human beings that they are human beings and tells them to live their lives as human beings is Narad. One who tells us to perform all the actions of our lives with thought and understanding is Narad. There have been many preachers that Narad is somewhat special because of 2 important things. Naradji has risen in a very ordinary way. Naradji gives us a lot of courage. In his previous life, Naradji was himself the son of a maidservant. His mother served as a maidservant in the hermitages of rishis. He was the son of a maidservant. He was the son of a worker. His mother would live in the hermitages of rishis, and therefore Naradji would also live there. They would serve rishis. but Naraji would keep listening to the conversations that the great sages, knowledgeable people and wise people would have between themselves. He only had one thought in his mind: the supreme soul truth that these great sages are talking about. Can I not see the supreme soul? Can I not attain this Lord? Naraji would keep asking each and every one of them. In the end, a great sage gave him a mantra, and Naraji performed chanting of this mantra. As a consequence, when that body of his fell, then in the next birth he was born as a son of Brahma's mind, as a Parashat, a pure devotee of Lord Vishnu. Brahmaji raised Naraji, and therefore Naraji is also known as Brahmaji's son. Lord Vishnu gave Naraji a veena, a plucked string instrument, as prasad, an oblation. Vinapani is another name for Naraji. Therefore, the first important lesson from Naraji's life that we get is satsang, communion with saints, and seva, service with saints. He was the most ordinary of ordinary people, but he went from the son of a maid servant to a Deva Rishi, divine seer, in one birth. I always say that if something is possible for one person, then it is possible for every person. If Naraji can do it, then why can't we? But the point is that Naraji can determine to do it, we cannot determine to do it. This is where the difficulty lies. There is no problem for the Lord. The Lord is not the government where you have to do a certain number of years of seniority before you can be made a head clerk and then be made a manager. God just says that we have to prove our efficiency, and God will promote you very quickly. God's accounts are not like that of the Indian government. You must first prove your efficiency. God's accounts are like that of American companies. You have to prove your credentials. A person may be working there for 20 years, but if he is not doing anything, then he will not be in the same place for 20 years. And another person may have come 2 years ago, but can reach a very high place through promotions in 2 years. This is what it is like with God. If you look at the truth of Shivji, Naraji gave Parvati Ji the inspiration to attain the truth of Shivji. How did Parvati Ji turn towards Shivji? Naraji showed her the path of sitting down and performing worship and penances. The whole of society was saying no. Her mother and father were saying no. The family was saying no. And everybody was saying no. Only Naraji said, Parvati Ji, you go, you will attain Shiva. Parvati Ji kept faith in Nara's words as a guru, performed penances and attained Shivji. An eternal number of devotees owe gratitude to Naraji. If I were to mention the two absolutely greatest scriptures in Indian culture, then they would be the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Ramayana. Naraji gave the inspiration for both these scriptures. It is not as if all of you did not know about this, but we do not know about all of these things together. I can see the expression on people's faces as I say that these sentences during my discourses. It is not as if you do not know. You may have listened to the Srimad Bhagavatam discourses. Vyasji was melancholy. He had created so many scriptures, he had divided the Vedas, and he had written the Mahabharata, the other Puranas, and so many scriptures, yet he was not satisfied. He had not yet experienced the fulfillment of his duties and obligations. Therefore, Naraji reached Vyasji's hermitage. Another greatness of Naraji is that Naraji himself goes without anyone asking. Nobody has yet gone in search of Naraji. Naraji himself comes to meet them. Wherever Naraji has given inspiration, that action is initiated by Naraji himself. This is a unique and exceptional thing about Naraji. Dhruv had gone in search of the Supreme Soul. Dhruv did not go in search of Naraji. Naraji himself found Dhruv. Prahlad was still in his mother's womb, and Naraji himself found Prahlad. Vyasji was sitting in his hermitage with his head in his hands thinking, what can I do? How can this sadness go away? Naraji himself reached there. Valmiki was a bandit who robbed people and cut people who were walking in the jungle. Naraji himself reached him. Naraji himself was there. Naraji gave Vyasji inspiration to sing about the life of Sri Krishna. Maharishi Vyasji therefore wrote the great scripture that is the Srimad Bhagavatam. In the same way, Naraji gave Valmiki inspiration, and Valmiki therefore wrote the great scripture that is the Ramayana. The person who inspired the two greatest scriptures, the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Ramayana, was Naraji. Naraji even preached to such a wise person as Sukdev, the son of Vyasji, who preached the Srimad Bhagavatam to King Parikshit. Naraji is master of music. He has a veena, a plucked string instrument in his hands. He is a master of music. Naraji is knowledgeable in all the scriptures. Know that, but Naraji has digested this wisdom, and because Naraji has digested this wisdom, Naraji is joyous. If someone is moving around just holding knowledge, then they become very serious. Naraji has digested the wisdom of the scriptures. He imparts wisdom while laughing and playing. I often say that Naraji is very much needed in today's times. There is no need for serious priests. Naraji is very much needed in today's times. You sit in front of such a person for 2 hours or 3 hours, then you get up having attained knowledge, and all the tension from your mind goes away. But there are some people with whom you may sit for only half an hour and your mind feels heavy. You have to go and take aspirin. Of course the person has knowledge and we bow down to that knowledge, but Naraji imparts wisdom while laughing and playing. He is necessary in today's times. Naraji has digested knowledge. If I take by way example, then if you have dal, curry, rice, 2 sets of cooked vegetables, chapatis, papadum, spices and pickle, and are walking around with it from morning until night, then at 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. your head starts spinning. You think, why am I traveling around carrying this? It is 2 p.m. or 3 p.m., so he should eat it from the tiffin. When he eats it and digests it, then he will get energy from it. In the same way, one who has taken in and digested wisdom in their life can remain joyous because of that wisdom. Naraji is like this. The Lord says that Naraji is his vibhuti, his divine manifestation. Shri Krishna says that among the Gandharvas, Chitraratha is his vibhuti, his divine manifestation. The womb of a Gandharva is younger than the womb of the gods. Within the womb of gods there are many different wombs such as Yaksha, Gandharva and many others. What is the work of Gandharvas? In the world of the Devtas, the gods, those who sing songs, play music, perform acting, dance and do other such things are Gandharvas. Gandharvas are very beautiful to look at. This is the unique thing about Gandharvas. They are very beautiful. We are beautiful like Gandharvas. They must be, otherwise we would not look at them. They are very good to look at and beautiful. Chitraratha Gandharva is the king of all the Gandharvas. That is why God says that Chitraratha is his vibhuti, his divine manifestation. Not only that, but Chitraratha is a master in the art of divine music. Shri Krishna says that of the Siddha, perfected ones, the sage Kapil is his vibhuti, his divine manifestation. Who can call a Siddha, a perfected one? One who has attained all the Siddhi, the spiritual powers of the world, and with them has the qualities of Dharma, Gnan wisdom, Aishwarya opulence, Vairagya detachment, and other such great qualities can be called Siddha, a perfected one. A Siddha, perfected one, has Siddhi, spirit powers, but at the same time has Gnan, wisdom, Dharma, Aishwarya opulence, Vairagya detachment, and other such great qualities. Look at this combination. If one is opulent, Aishwarya, and yet Vairagya detached, then he can be called Siddha, a perfected one. Such a person has wealth, but at the same time lives like a Jalakarmavat, like a lotus in a dirty pond. It is not a slave to wealth. Such a person is Siddha, a perfected one. There are thousands of such Siddha perfected ones, but out of them the sage Kapil is the most important. Kapil Muni was the son of Gadam and Devahuti. Gadam Muni was an incarnation of the Supreme Soul and is counted as one of the 24 incarnations in the Srimad Bhagavad. The uniqueness about Kapil Muni is that he preached the Samkhya scriptures. He was a pioneer of the Samkhya scriptures. The word Samkhya comes from Satya, pure logic. Something as clear as 1 + 1 = 2 about the Supreme Soul is a Samkhya school of thought. There is no hypothecation, no prejudice and nothing like that, yet it still proves the existence of God. Such is the school of Samkhya. Its basic principle is that the reason why human beings are sad in life is because of ignorance. And what is this ignorance? This is ignorance when a person believes that he is a body. In reality, we are not the bodies, we are souls, but we have forgotten the truth and substance of our souls, and the person begins to believe that he is body, and therefore all the conditions of the body become his own. All the miseries of the body become his own. The moment when the Devadya's identification with the body releases, then no miseries remain for him. Miseries no longer remain, and therefore wishes for pleasures do not remain. The person gets both pleasures and pains, and attains the state of liberation. This is because until pains are there, while pains are there, then one becomes longing for pleasures. As long as pleasures are there, then there is a thought that maybe pains will come. But one whose pains have gone away also gets rid of their attraction for pleasures and goes beyond both pleasures and pains to reach the state of bliss and the state of liberation. This is the school of Samkhya in a nutshell. Then there is a whole collection of Samkhya thought to prove these principles. Lord Kapil is God's vibhuti, divine manifestation. Okay, end of class. Jai Shri Krishna.